doubt, confusion, raising consciousness, or lowering it? What do you see in the world that's not working? The potential for self-doubt and continued emotionality. These are all pressures, questions, and qualities that this cycle of the Human Design Weather for March 1st to 7th, 2026 bring. Hello, and welcome to the Human Design Weather or Not podcast with me, Margot Fraser. Let's dive right into this cycle and its pressure to think. It begins on March 1st at 4:11 p.m., going until the 7th at 6:57 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. Universal Time Coordinates, that's starting March 1st at 11:11 p.m., going until 1:57 p.m. on March 7th. Remember to convert that to your own time zone so you know when it starts and ends for you. We always start with the Sun-Earth activations because that's 70% of the conditioning field. Both the Sun and Earth have moved into head center gates this cycle. The head center is the top triangle in the body graph, and it's a pressure center. It brings the pressure to think. You can also call this inspiration. The three gates in the head center bring the pressure to mentally make sense of experiences, to know, and to understand patterns. So we've got two of these activated by this transit field. The Sun has moved into gate 63, the trait of doubt, part of the collective logic circuitry. Collective traits are always about this impersonal sharing, and logic is about understanding and finding the patterns to carry us into the future. This is the starting place for the scientific mind, your ability to investigate patterns and come up with new theories backed by the details and facts. Why do we want to know about patterns? Well, because us humans love reliability and the stability that it brings. If I do A, B, and C, I'm going to get this specific and reliable outcome. All I need to do is follow the steps, follow the formula. The thing about patterns, though, is that they change over time. There's no way that is the way forever. And the fact that you're here listening to something from a human design perspective, you know it's all about individuating, living your unique design and bringing your unique perspective. So a pattern that works for some people may not work for you. That something's not working here brings the doubt, the pressure to look into this further, to investigate. This pressure brings the questions that lead to that investigating. As you follow this mental process, this mental logical process into the ajna, your mental awareness center, your investigation may reveal that, oh, the pattern seems to be a good one. I can just leave it. The mind can be at peace. Or, nope, I don't think that this works. And then your mind will start playing with what it might be. What might be the correct pattern? What's the answer here in gate 4, the gate of answers? And then forming a theory, an opinion in gate 17, the gate of opinions. And it's only an opinion at this point because the real life experimenting to prove that it's so hasn't happened yet. And in gate 62, the theory, the opinion can be expressed with all the details and facts. The keynote for this gate 63 says, in the spiral of life, all endings are beginnings. In other words, the end of one pattern is the start of a new one. If you have this gate in your own design, it's really important that everything that you doubt, you do investigate and prove to yourself whether it works or not. This trait can bring the opportunity for you to look at any plans you have and get a sense of whether they're going to work. You might find that you're really able to ask good questions about anything that you doubt. And that could really inspire someone else to get into their investigative process. This pressure to doubt could also be turned inward by the not self mind into self-doubt. So that's something to watch for, because what happens when you doubt yourself? You stop trusting yourself. You stop trusting your own strategy and authority. You hand over your power to others. So watch that you're not taking what someone else says as fact if you haven't done your own fact checking. We have these two polarities where questions you or others ask could be inspiring, but also there could be others who plant seeds of doubt that have no basis at all in fact. Also, others may ask questions or talk about what they're doubting and what they're suspicious of, and you might feel like you have to come up with the answers and respond in some way. Remember that just because the pressure of the question is there doesn't mean that you have to do anything about it unless your own strategy and authority are saying yes. So expect increased doubt to be expressed around you this cycle. This is being grounded in the Earth's position, gate 64, the trait of confusion. This is part of the collective abstract experiential circuitry. So we have this impersonal sharing again, and the abstract thought process is about making sense of the past, making sense of experiences and of life. In that making sense process, there can eventually be those ahas that may lead to ideas and the formation of what we believe about something. There's no facts here. This isn't the logic side. It's just what's based in experience. And then we can articulate those beliefs out eventually as stories through gate 56 in the throat center. It all starts, though, with confusion. When you've just had an experience or taken something in mentally, it's about trying to figure out where it fits into the movie of your life, what's of value and what's not. To move from confusion to the ahas, the realizations, does take time, and it can be difficult to determine, like, what was the point of that? There can be surface level stuff that comes faster, but the real depth does take time. So the keynote says transition, like birth, requires a determined strength for the passage through. Transition speaks to this process of going from confusion to realization. This is a trait that stores visual memory, but it's a jumble. Those memories aren't stored in order. So there's this confusion. Out of the confusion in that making sense process, you can mentally explore many things. The story is in your head. Again, it takes time. You may find you're spending more time trying to make sense of things this cycle. You may share your confusion. And you may ask questions about your own or hear others' confusions that help to move through it in going through the thought process, putting those puzzle pieces together. As with the doubts, it's important to put any questions that others ask through your own strategy and authority to determine if it's even something you should be putting your energy into. It's okay to say, I don't know. It can be easy to go into mental anxiety out of the confusion. There could be a sense that you're not ever going to find the point. Or you may take hasty action when you think you have the point, but you actually don't, which just leads to more confusion. When we look at these Sun-Earth positions together, well, confusion and doubt, lots of questions. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's going to mean a lot of anxiety at the collective level. Now, these questions that come up could really support raising consciousness. But if you're not going through your own process, using your own strategy and authority, investigating what's of value and taking that processing time, letting go of what's not of value, the opposite can play out. Lowering of consciousness, taking on others' confusion and doubt as your own, or grabbing onto what someone else says as fact or their beliefs as truth. So do your best not to go into mental anxiety out of these pressures of confusion and doubt. And remember that your decision-making process, your strategy and authority is not in your head. It's in your body. All right, let's look at our channels now. A reminder that when the transit field creates a channel, everyone that doesn't already have it in their chart is receiving activation of the related traits and qualities. So it has a big impact that way. Now we have our long-term channel that's been with us since December 22nd, going to be with us until May 13th. And that is in our nodes. The nodes are creating the channel of community, a design of a part seeking a whole. The nodes represent our direction, environment, and what we see in the world. The North Node sitting in gate 37, the trait of friendship and family, and the South Node is in gate 40, the trait of deliverance and aloneness. This is tribal with the theme of mutual support underlying it. So generally, we're going to feel the need for support and to be supported. We're going to see those who are supported and those who are not. This is a design of a part seeking a whole. So it's going to bring pressure to find the places where you belong. You know, which community do you belong to? And it can amplify any sense of not belonging. It's also about finding your place in the totality. And it can help support you knowing that you just being yourself means you are inherently a part of the totality. This is also the channel of the marriage contract and of agreements in general. So it brings an emphasis on fairness in relationships, whether that's at a personal or business level. There will also be these themes of loyalty and betrayal, jealousy and friendship, possessiveness and generosity, agreements and the dissolution of agreements. This is all a part of this tribal channel of community. Now, out of that sense of belonging that I was talking about, or the pressure to find one's place, there may be people who enter into communities or join communities just to have that sense of belonging, even if those communities aren't truly aligned with them. There's also an opportunity to perhaps find those people who you are really aligned with. At a collective level, the exchange of resources, the trade agreements, these continue to be highlighted as part of a theme under this, the pressure of this channel. Just a bit of a retrospective here that we had this channel in the Sun-Earth positions, as well as here in the nodes in the last cycle. And that's when we saw this war against Iran start. So the side we're seeing of like this territorial power play, forceful side of the tribe that can destroy levels of community rather than build them. That is something that can play out. And with that kind of double pressure of this channel of community, and also having Jupiter in retrograde with its expansive pressure in gate 53 to start something new, but in an old way, and hasty Mars with its pressure to fulfill on desires. Okay. All right. We do have a medium-term channel that actually came in last cycle. It's going to go out on March 2nd at 11:05 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. UTC going out March 2nd at 6:05 p.m. So we have Mars activating gate 30, the trait of recognition of feelings, the trait of desire and yearning in the solar plexus emotional center, connecting with its electromagnetic gate 41. The trait of contraction and decrease in the root center being activated by Pluto. Together, they create the channel of recognition, a design of focused energy. This is part of the abstract experiential circuitry, and here it's the drive and pressure to enter into a new experience. It all starts with fantasizing in gate 41. Fantasizing about all the experiences that you might want to have, and then narrowing that down to the one that's most reasonable and of value, and recognizing that, and that becoming the yearning, the desire. What is it that you're really hungry for? And then you have to wait for that hunger to be fulfilled. It's emotional, so it takes time. This channel brings the potential challenge to unknown experience. What's around the next corner? What would it be like to? It brings the opportunity to get clarity from all the new experiences that you might fantasize about having in the future, and to be able to narrow it down to the one that you truly desire. But without patience, there can be this trying to fulfill on the yearning too quickly without having clarity that it's really correct. The rules of thumb for the experiential circuitry are that there can be no expectations, which is very, very difficult to do with this gate of yearning. And there can also be only one experience at a time so that you can be fully in it. All right, we have a short-term channel coming in on March 6th, so towards the end of this cycle at 1 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, going until the 9th, so that'll move us into the next cycle, going out at 3:26 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time that day. We've got our time change in North America within this. UTC, it's coming in March 6th at 8:18 a.m., going until the 9th at 9:26 p.m. Jupiter is going to be continuing its retrograde and moving into gate 39, the trait of the provocateur in the root center. It's connecting with its electromagnetic gate 55, the trait of spirit in the emotional center. That's being activated by Mars. Together, they create the channel of emoting, a design of moodiness. This is an individual channel that can bring mutation and operates through a pulse of knowing and has the potential to be empowering. It brings the pressure to find your spirit, your passion. This is your emotional spirit, and to gain awareness of who and what fills your cup, so to speak, and who or what doesn't. It can bring outbursts of emotion. Gate 55 has the highest highs and the lowest lows emotionally. It can also, as an individual channel, drop into melancholy, that you can't find the emotional spirit and there's nothing to be passionate about. We have two channels that are being created by transits of the moon. So they're just little tasters because the moon only activates a gate or a trait for about 10 or 11 hours, give or take. The first comes in March 1st at 4:11 p.m., going until 7:50 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. UTC, that's coming in March 1st at 11:11 p.m., going until March 2nd at 2:50 a.m. We have the moon moving into gate 4, connecting with its electromagnetic, our sun's position, gate 63, that trait of doubt in the head center. Together, they create the channel of logic, a design of mental ease mixed with doubt. This channel is the start of the mental logic process. So we talked about the doubt that comes through the pressure of that 63, but with the full channel, we have the connection now to gate 4, the gate of answers. This is the scientific mind. Once you've expressed your doubt, it opens up the door to potential answers through that gate 4, the gate of answers and formalization. If there's nothing that you're doubting, the mind will be at ease. Otherwise, it's going to be going into, what are all the potential answers to the doubts that I'm having? And there's the opportunity to have that, to have those potential answers come through. Just don't grab onto them as the answer, because at this point, they are just potentials. Our next channel that's coming in, well, it's going to be a channel with our Earth's position, that gate 64, the gate of confusion. So this is coming in March 3rd at 12:04 p.m., going until 10:20 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. UTC coming in March 3rd at 7:04 p.m., going until 5:20 a.m. The moon is moving into gate 47, the trait of oppression and realization in the Ajna center. That's going to connect with our Earth's position to create the channel of abstraction, a design of mental activity mixed with clarity. So this is moving through now out of the confusion to potentially getting those realizations, those ahas through gate 47. Again, it's a tough process. It does take some time to find the point and to put the puzzle pieces together. And so, as the keynote says, it's going to bring a busy mind and the potential for mental clarity. All right, that brings us to our long-term transits. The long-term transits are created by the outer planets and the nodes of the moon. They're with us for longer periods of time, years in some cases. So your not self mind could start to think that they're part of you, even when it's not something that you have in your own design. And when that transit moves on, that can be rather confusing to the not self mind. We do have a gate change for Jupiter this cycle and a line change for Saturn. But let's start with the nodes in the transit field as they bring that homogenized perspective and direction that we'll see in the world. They continue to, as we've talked about already, be in the 3740 channel of community, a design of a part seeking a whole. And we've already talked about what that generally brings. So let's get into the specifics now. They're sitting in line 4. And they're actually having quite a long run in this particular line. So let's look at those themes. Gate 37 in line 4, this is the gate and trait of friendship and family, where line 4 says leadership by example. In the exaltation, those that exhibit exemplary behavior and the highest principles will be seen as leaders over who would traditionally be seen as leaders. However, in the detriment, only traditional leaders, and that's typically the patriarchal leaders, are accepted, even if they're not good role models, even if they don't have high principles. Gate 40 brings an ego that will organize work to balance rest. So kind of positive to have it there at a personal level that can really support you. At the collective level, we're more likely to see the detriment play out of the workaholic side of things. All right, let's move into our outer planets now. Jupiter starts the cycle in gate 53, the collective abstract trait of beginning. So it's expanding the pressure to start something new. It's in line 1 called accumulation. Now, in the exaltation, it's about starting something new based on the foundation of the old. I'm just not sure that we have the exaltation present in the world, just because Neptune hasn't activated this trait since 1909. So only if there was someone from that time that's still alive now would this exaltation be present. So we may likely and more likely are to see the detriment play out where there's a holding back from starting something new due to the criticism that's been experienced in the past. So we see that insecurity of the first line that's dominating here. Now, near the end of this cycle on March 6th at 1:18 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, Jupiter will retrograde back into gate 39, the individual trait of the provocateur in the root center. So we talked about this a bit in the channel that it's going to be forming, and it is ideally provoking the emotional spirit of that gate 55, that emotional spirit. What we're more likely to see, though, is provocation generally, people trying to push other people's buttons, and Jupiter is going to be expanding that. Its keynote says the value of obstruction in provoking analysis, assessment, and reevaluation. So when someone provokes you and it's correct, yeah, it could set you off, but it could also have you kind of stop and reevaluate. Maybe there's some truth in what they're saying, and you need to do some reevaluation and reassessment there. Specifically, it's going to be in line 6, and it's going to have an extended stay there as Jupiter goes direct next cycle. Yeah. Line 6 is called the troubleshooter, and it has a developmental theme that says a natural gift for solving problems. Now, I'll get into the details of it, the exaltation, the detriment in the next cycle where we really see it playing out. Saturn and Neptune continue to sit in gate 25, the individual trait of spirit of the self, of innocence, and universal love. Both are going to start the cycle in line 4 called survival. So strong frequency it's bringing through there when you have two planets activating a trait. It has a developmental theme that says the nature of true innocence can be maintained regardless of circumstances. The exaltation says the beauty of the rose in the garbage dump. Jupiter is also exalted. The highest principles, even amongst the greatest decadents. The spiritual warrior. The innocence maintained regardless of circumstances. No polarity, no planet in detriment. So quite a positive line. Saturn can really support this being present no matter what with its discipline, although Neptune could make it harder to see this quality playing out. On March 3rd at 12:19 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, Saturn's going to move into line 5 called recuperation. It has a developmental theme that says when innocence is sapped of its vitality, healing is the first priority. So if you can't stay in that place of presence and universal love, it's time to stop and heal. The exaltation says the ability to recognize the inner meaning of an affliction and to withdraw until it's healed. The power of the spirit to heal and be healed. The detriment says hypochondria and the need to be healed by others. The weakness of the spirit, which requires healing from others. Saturn, well, Saturn could support the discipline to withdraw and heal if you need that. Saturn can also be egoic, so it can also pull to the detriment as well. I should note as well that from March 4th to 9th, Venus is also going to be in gate 22. So that's going to amp up that frequency even more. Very strong emphasis on this universal love of all things equally in that period. Uranus is sitting in gate 8, the individual trait of contribution and holding together. It's the voice of, I know I can contribute or not. It's in line 4 called respect. This is where individuals can bring through their unique contribution, bring that out into the community in an influential way, and be seen as a leader through that, even though they may not technically be the assigned leader. We could also see individual contributions that are not out of true creativity, but instead out of the ego need to impress. And Uranus can be sidetracking. So what's contributed could potentially take people in the community off track. Pluto sitting in gate 41, the collective abstract trait of contraction and decrease in the root center, with that pressure to start a new experience and to fantasize about all the experiences that you could have. It's sitting in line 3 called efficiency, which has a developmental theme that says in times of decrease, selfishness is justified. Now, this is a third line with its themes of trial and error and bonds made and broken. So that efficiency title is not something that is just there. You have to go through the trial and error to determine what's most efficient. And this is the energy that fuels the feeling for personal ambition. It's about figuring out on your own through trial and error which experience to go through, which feeling you really want, and bring that drive to do it alone. And the detriment, they'll be wanting to bring others into the experience and share it with them, which means more energy and resources will be used. And of course, when there's another there, they have their influence. So the purity per se of doing it your own way will be lost. Not necessarily good or bad. It's just two different ways of moving through an experience. When we look at the pressures of this transit field overall, well, we still have that emotionality, but certainly not to the extent of last cycle when we had that channel of community in the nodes and the Sun Earth. We have Mercury and Mars in individual emotional gates, the 22 and the 55 in the emotional center, bringing a moodiness to the cycle. Dynamic Mars could amplify the highs of passion. Mars can be very passionate, but also the lows of volatility. And Mercury could support the grace of attentive listening or the disgrace of just talking over others. We have doubt and confusion within the context of communities that could play into determining whether to follow non-traditional leaders that have high principles and the ability to hold people together, or holding on to traditional patriarchal leaders, even if they're not necessarily good role models. We may hear others sharing or share ourselves the fantasies about what we'd like to experience, and yet holding back on really beginning them due to fear of being criticized. There's an opportunity to withdraw and recuperate and heal if that's something that's needed now, and to pull back from workaholic tendencies. With the moodiness, we might also see that questions that come from doubts and suspicions and confusions are shared and can inspire great passion and be consciousness raising. Or receive angry, volatile responses with a refusal to open to greater awareness. The not self mind also likes to blame and shame with these head center gates here rather than to truly make sense and work through doubt. So that's something that could play out as well. Remember that the transit field brings the traits that have the potential to homogenize us to their conditioning. So it is what we see play out in the world, where most people are not self rather than following their unique designs. With awareness, though, you can observe and learn from these frequencies rather than having them run you. That brings us to the end of the cosmic weather for this cycle. If you want to run your own chart, you can go to jovianarchive.com. If you're new to human design and you want to understand more about the body graph itself at a high level, what's the red and the black about, the different geometric shapes, a little bit of background on the human design system, feel free to grab my free Human Design Basics mini course. It's at margotgfraser.com/human-design. If you enjoyed this podcast, I'm always so grateful if you can give the episode a like and consider subscribing if it's correct for you. All right, well, got to keep those surfboards out to ride the emotional waves. Be open to good questions from the confusion and doubt that's in the field that could raise your level of consciousness. At the same time, watch that you're not getting caught up in the anxiety that's bound to be present. There could be a tendency to get caught up in the mind and have more difficulty bringing your attention and your awareness into your body so that you can attune to your own strategy and authority. However, it's going to be important that you have that attunement so that you don't waste energy trying to answer question out of someone's doubts and confusions that have no value. If it's time for a break, do what you really enjoy and allows you to recuperate. Those activations in Gate 25, that universal love and spirit of the self, are going to support you. You can take some time if you need it to do some healing, and you could receive some really great insights about what is it within you that needs healing and its real root cause. All right, have a great cycle. Be kind to one another, and may you know, love, and live the magic of your true nature. Until next time, bye for now.